Alright, 86 Instar here. Today we're on the CB300F. It's a 2015. I bought it this spring from a shop in Indianapolis called Dreyer's Motorsports. I've actually bought a couple bikes from there. They treated me pretty good. I live in Lafayette, so we don't have a Honda dealership here. We have a Yamaha dealership, but not a Honda. But yeah, the other day I turned over 2,500 miles on it. I think it's 26 something now. That'd be a good time to kind of do a little review of the bike now that I've had a chance to put some miles on it. Give you my opinions on it. I guess I'll give you a little bit of info first. I spent a lot of years riding 600cc sport bikes. I've owned a liter bike. I've owned first generation Ninja 250 way back in the day. I'm about 5'10" and a half, 180 to 190 pounds. So that kind of gives you a little bit of idea where I'm coming from when I talk about this bike. Most of this bike's duties is just commuting, and then this kind of country cruising on the weekend. Just go out in the country and ride around. To say I don't miss my 600 sport bikes, I mostly don't, but to say I don't at all would be a lie. But, that being said, there are some things I like better about this bike than I did my sport bikes. The biggest thing being the sport bikes were much more laid over. And I mentioned that this was the S model. I've not ridden the 300R, but I believe the handlebars are a little bit lower and you lean over just a little bit more. This bike allows you to sit up quite a bit more upright, more of a, what I'd call a standard riding position. Which I find much more comfortable when I'm out cruising around. Which is, like I said, mostly all I do anymore. The days of going out and just corner carving and dragging knees are long since behind me. But I will talk about that a little bit. I've had this bike out on the curvy roads and I guess you'd say rode it a little more aggressively, and it handles great. You know, it's no super sport, but I have no real complaints at all. If I had to complain about anything, it would be the tires that come stock on this bike. They don't inspire a lot of confidence. They haven't ever done anything really stupid either. Not so much that I'd want to take them off and spoon on a set of tires right now. But when these wear out, you'll be getting some much better tires. Along those lines, I guess, the bike is still completely stock except for the exhaust system. It has a slip-on Yosh system on it, or slip-on Yosh pipe. And I did that because I like the way it sounds. No other justification. You're not going to get any massive power boost out of the pipe or anything like that. I just did it because I wanted it. And it sounds great on this bike. I like to make a little bit of noise. Can't be fast, at least be loud. But it's not obnoxious at normal RPM ranges. So I have done a little bit of distance riding on this. Well, not distance riding relative to what the iron butt guys on big dressers are doing, but a couple weeks ago, me and my friends went out and put 170 miles on the bikes, and that's a pretty good day for me. Now, normally I don't fuel this bike up at gas stations. In fact, it's only ever seen one, and that was that day. Normally I just top it off at the house before I leave. I don't like hassling with throwing a couple gallons of gas in it. Having to stop at a gas station to do that seems like a waste of time to me, so I fuel up before I leave. But that day I did, which gave me a chance to check the mileage. Now, we had gone to nearby town, or relatively nearby town, Rensselaer, that day, and I don't like the interstate, but we took the interstate that day to get there, and we took the highway back, and we did some in-town rides in Rensselaer and in Lafayette. So I had a pretty good mix of miles that day that I was able to take the miles per gallon on it, and it came in right at 60, so not too bad. I'd be kind of curious, I guess, to know if it would do a little better if I hadn't put those interstate miles on it, since it's spinning up so high on the interstate. But yeah, even with all those miles that day, I stayed relatively comfortable all day. But yeah, I don't have any real complaints or problems to report about the bike. Right after the first oil change I did on it, the break-in oil change, within a couple weeks I was out on a ride, and when I got home I noticed that this bar end was missing, so it apparently had vibrated off. I blame myself for that one, since I probably should have done a better job of going over all the nuts and bolts on this bike during that oil change. I thought I hit all the important ones, but, well, got what I got. So I'll be ordering one of those off eBay or something. Probably won't cost much. But other than that, that's the only issue this bike's really had. Now, I do find myself on the highway, when I do get on the highway with it, always find myself reaching for one more gear that's never there. So if you go on many of these rides with me, you'll probably see me pull that trick of grabbing the clutch one more time. But even with me feeling like I want one more gear, at 55 or 60, the bike's perfectly happy, and it's not so vibey that it's uncomfortable. Now, I mentioned that I use this bike primarily for commuting. And to be 100% honest, I've got a 50cc Yamaha Zuma that for that job works much better than this does. We recently in Indiana, they passed a law saying that I couldn't have you can't have passengers on scooters any longer, which means it means I can't ride my daughter down to the bus stop in the morning on my way to work. So now I take this, which none of my commute goes over 40 miles an hour, so the Yamaha was perfectly fine for that. The Zuma was great for that, and it got a lot better gas mileage. They claim something like 126, 129, something like that, I don't know, something ridiculous. And yeah, you put gas in it, then you just forget about it for a month. But the bigger thing really was just the fact that any of you scooter guys out there know, if you found the joy of scootering like I have, scooters have huge amounts of storage on them. The Zuma had, I believe they claim it's the largest in that group as well. So I mean, it was a massive amount of storage space for taking my lunch and anything I'd want to take to work with me. This, on the other hand, well, I could probably take a sandwich, but it's not going to go in a lunchbox. That's really all the room you got. You got room for a wallet or a sandwich. So that means a backpack is definitely a must. There's some other solutions out there. Tank bags. I'm sure there's some kind of rear seat bag you can get for it. Like I said, I have a passenger in the morning, so a rear seat bag wouldn't work for me, but a tank bag probably would. But I use a backpack and it works fine, doesn't really bother me that much. But just so full disclosure, I guess, if you're going to buy one of these as a commuter, you will have to have some kind of carry solution other than what's underneath the back passenger seat. As far as the passenger pylon goes, my daughter never complains about it at all. I asked her specifically what she thought of it, and she likes it just fine. She'd spent some time on the back of my 600 GSXR, and she never really complained about that either. She says this feels about the same to her. They give you a decent pylon seat on this, as well as pretty decent pegs, good riding position. It is a step-up seat, like most of the sport bikes have a separate pylon. Unlike the Honda Grom that we had, where it just has a single seat and not a very big one. It does give you passenger pegs, but I think after the second time she rode on the back of that, she refused to ever get on the back of it again, and I can't blame her. Now, I will be replacing that Honda Grom probably within a couple weeks. We'll be going back to Dryer and talking to them and picking us up a new one. I think the wife wants a black one this time, so. I had initially planned on doing a review of that bike as well. So I guess there will be one coming, a review coming on the new one. I spent enough miles on that, to be honest. I could probably give you a review for it now, but everybody likes to see the bike you're reviewing, so we'll just wait until we pick up the new one. I can't think of anything else that I've forgotten about this bike. I hope you enjoyed the ride, and we'll see you guys later.